People should be able to benefit from their creations. And we're judging the output, which I think is the right way to approach it, right? So if I create something and so if I use AI and it makes something that sounds way too much like Snoop Dogg, punish me for it. A real artist wouldn't want to put that thing out because it wouldn't be them. It would be someone else's, right? So that's how I feel about like the copyright. Judge the outputs, develop your own personal ethic around it. And I have a lot of examples of working with my clients where I have other really great, results from it and why it's a valuable tool. But I'm excited. I'm generally excited, but I'm also concerned about all those people that have careers. I think it has a major impact on a commercial use of music, just like it's had a major impact on a commercial use of imagery and a commercial use of text, right? I was a professor there and I was training people to make a living making music for money, often for commercial uses. And now that industry is very much threatened by this. Like so there is a threat to making money with music.
There's nobody talks about human slop. There is human slop. I write shitty songs every once in a while, and I look at them. Yeah. Most of us do, and guess what? That's part of the freaking process of getting good at it. And what if people who are using that app, their way of trying to get good at it is to use that app, and down the line, they might actually become good songwriters. Welcome to Caffeinated Creatives, the show where we have honest conversations about creativity, technology, and what it actually takes to build a sustainable creative career today. Today's guest is Loudon Sterns, Associate Professor at Berklee College of Music, media artist, and someone who was both my teacher and my mentor when I was studying at Berklee. Loudon works at the intersection of music, technology, and performance, helping prepare the next generation of artists for a rapidly evolving creative landscape. In this episode, we dig into AI, authorship, and how artists can use emerging tools responsibly without losing the human core of their work. I'm goosebumping here like I practiced this 10 million times, and I'm like it's like I'm getting into like the most famous person in the world, and you are to me, my friend. Loudon, I'm so grateful for all you did for me when I was at Berklee. I went to all of your office hours, bothering you with everything that I could, because I was hungry not just for some good food, but good knowledge that I know you always possess, because you're hungry to learn and to be better.
For sure. It's great to be here, Danny.
So for folks that this is the first time they're seeing you, hearing you, who are you? What inspired you to be a musician, a professor, and what's your relationship with technology?
Sure. So Loudon Sterns. I was a professor at Berklee for a long time, but my first, I guess, what inspired me, music and technology. So I'm incredibly close with my father, and he was a musician and a computer programmer. And my parents, it was a very tight-knit, like, nuclear family. It was the three of us. No television growing up, and no real, like, toys. It was like you have a computer that you can program. You're not going to give you games. You'll have to program it to make it do something. And we have musical instruments around the house. And my father did everything. I don't think he ever hired someone to do anything. Like, he built the houses that I grew up in, and built the computers that we use. So, and I built my guitar. Like, oh, you want to play guitar? Yeah. Here's all the pieces. That was one big Christmas I remember. Is like just a whole bunch of boxes, and it was just the pieces of a bass, right? So I think that that was the genesis of it. It was an amazing upbringing where I read books and played music and built things. And that has propagated throughout my entire life. I think one of the biggest lessons I had from him was basically if you can teach a computer to do something, you have to break any complex problem down into a bunch of really specific, concrete steps. And I won programming competitions as a kid on these stupid little programming languages, when I was like in second grade and stuff, and that like was foundational. I think my whole life kind of built on that. Was like, okay, any problem you have, you can just break it down into these tiny little pieces, and you can solve those tiny little things. And I think a big lesson from that I try to impart on my cohort, the people that I work with, is to take like absurd amount of joy from tiny successes. You know, like you just need to really reward those tiny successes. Like programming is full of that, right? It's like you never immediately get to the final thing, but you make, okay, I made that light blink on the screen. Have a Skittle, you know, like really, really reward yourself for those tiny little things, because anything big is built from those, and you can't sustain a life if you're not getting those little rewards. So, you know, and now I do computer programming for musical purposes. So, you know, I'm a certified trainer in Max MSP, Cycling's Max MSP, which is this beautiful programming language that's designed for arts and entertainment. And I have a bunch of Broadway shows that are running on my software, which is really exciting.
Wow.
And so that's like one part of what I do. And I coach creative people in getting the most from their artistry. I think my hero on that side is Rick Rubin. You know, he's been able to get, you know, these artists to just, you know, he doesn't impose himself on it. He just like coaches them and supports them in this beautiful way so that they can really achieve, you know, the best of themselves. And I think if I had any kind of like icon right now, it would be him. And I would hope to have the same influence on musicians.
I read his book recently.
It's fantastic, right?
And I thought this thing needs to be, I'm goosebumping, A.
Yeah.
And B, I thought this is something that every creator needs to read.
Yeah.
The way he's looking at just creativity, it doesn't have to be music, doesn't have to be video.
Doesn't matter.
It's so freeing. It's almost like, and I was talking about this somebody with yesterday, is when you're an artist, one of the things you got to work on is oneself, is yourself.
Yeah.
Why are you doing art? If you're doing art to please others, is to, oh, I'm worried what people are going to say and I'm not going to do anything, then you're self-sabotaging.
Absolutely.
I went through so much stuff in my whole journey to realize that I got to selfishly believe in myself and love myself, because there will be people who will tell me they don't like what I'm doing. There will be people who wants to push me down, and I got to cut through that like it's just a single piece of thing, you know. And Rick Rubin's book is mindful changing, or mindset changing.
It really
and
is.
I thought a lot about I read your post. Actually, I didn't read it. I converted it into an audio book because that's how I consume media. I walk, I listen.
Sure.
So I wanted to tell you one thing that was always in my mind. I learned instruments and production, and it was probably, I was 17 to 20, and I was like, how interesting would it be if I can hook my head into a computer and I can think of all the elements of the song and have it up here in front of me. I know it's an outlandish thing, it belongs in a Black Mirror episode, but in one way, when I found out this technology that exists now and I can upload my music and creatively mess around with it, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a freaking toy land of extra creativity. And then the craziness that is also appearing now is there's the polar people that really hate it and the polar people that really love it. And almost to a point where if you're using it, you're not an actual real creator, and people want to be like, let's distinguish real humans from AI. What is your take on all this? What do you think is ethical, or I don't know. Let it pour. And
okay. You know, I love using every possible tool to make music. You know, the piano is like, that's the most amazing piece of music technology ever been created, is the piano, right? It's like, it's this stunning thing, and it opened up all these venues for creativity. You know, dynamics. There's just so much that's powerful there. I love using all this technology. I don't think much changes. I think, you know, in a lot of ways, if we just talk about artistry and like how to reference Rick Rubin, how he might approach things about, you know, about art as like creating something from your soul, this doesn't change. I don't see how it changes anything, right? I think it has a major impact on a commercial use of music, just like it's had a major impact on a commercial use of imagery and a commercial use of text, right? And so that is a challenge, right? I mean, we studied in the contemporary writing production department at Berklee, right? I was a professor there, and I was training people to make a living making music for money, often for commercial uses. And now that industry is very much threatened by this. And so as we talk about this, I don't want to seem uncaring, right? Like so there is a threat to making money with music, but I don't see a threat to making art. I think I only see a liberation to the artist using tools. So we've spoken a little bit about Suno. That's the AI platform, a generative AI music platform that I use the most. But I also use some of the generative vocal tools like Synthesizer V, which is stunning, and much more granular tool for creating lyrics and harmonies, right? Which we could take advantage of because we understand music deeply. But I think I try to base everything on my own experience, right? And so I will admit I was incredibly threatened when I first opened up Suno. My initial response was fear, and so I sympathize with people that have fear, around this. It's a fearful thing, where it does feel threatening. Oh, this can do the thing that I can do. And I felt, my first impression with working with Suno was really like a sadness, and a fear for all the students that I coached, right? We worked hard, and I had, 20-year time at Berklee really supporting students and showing them how to create music often for commercial products. And immediately I saw the threat there. I mean, I know that's there. But then I said, okay, well, I need, I think in artistic things, and in an artistic sense, you got to move towards your fear. And I think that's a really important part for artists, right? I don't want to say this if you're like walking down an alley. I think we have to respect fear. I think it's an important sense, but as an artist, when there's a fear, we have, I think, a responsibility to go toward that, right? And to see, in an artistic sense, why am I confronted with this thing? What does that really mean? I need to investigate internally. I need to see what that reference was. So I just said, okay, let me experiment with this thing. And I've always experimented with latest technology. So I did. I took a week with Suno to really dig in and say, okay, let's see what this is. Like, is there a point in this process, if I really work with this heavily, that I start to feel the same way that I do when I compose at my computer in my DAW, the digital audio workstation, or when I play guitar. And, so I was like taking all these trips into Boston on the train. And I would just sit there with my phone, and I would work with ChatGPT and Claude to write lyrics, and I would work with Suno.ai to make music. And I challenged it in a bunch of different ways. I challenged it in like, can I make a song in a traditional song sense? Can I make it can I break it? Can I do things with it that I couldn't do elsewhere, right? Because I think there's something about a new instrument that I want to create something that hasn't been done before. And there was a moment on the train we call it the T here in Boston. There's a moment on the train where I was like, this song is mine. I just knew it. I had this internal feeling as an artist that's like, I just created something. And yes, the generative AI output that thing, but I looked back through my prompts. I had gone back and forth over 100 times when I really looked at it. And I looked at the time I took. I mean, I look at like Pat Pattison's songwriting course, and he'll say, well, he starts with a title in the morning, and by the end of the day, he has a song. Okay, well, I spent 4 days going back and forth with this thing, right? There was at least 20 hours of me invested in thinking about the song and debating how I'd want it to change the thing, and thinking, could I hear this in different ways? Blind alleys that I went down and said no, and then backed up and then went forward again. The process that I had working with this tool ended up being a lot like working with a great artist. Someone that I could bounce ideas off and brainstorm with. And I did end up with a feeling like this is my creation. And I didn't have that at the very beginning, right? So I think there's a point, like that first moment I put something in and I heard it back. I'm like, I mean, weirdly, it sounds great. right? It has like, oh, that sounds like something I would hear on the radio in a way. Like it was able to create that fidelity right away. But I didn't have a this is mine approach. But as I went through and tweaked lyrics and tweaked prompts and created something, there was something in the end there that was weird in my way, right? It was strange enough, like I would create, and I was proud of it. Like I had a pride. I was like, I wanted to play it for people, right? And I didn't have that in the beginning. So I think in that sense, I absolutely know it's an artistic tool because I felt it. And I do trust myself as an artist. We're talking about Rick Rubin, his approach. You know, I trusted myself. I felt that. I know what it's like to be an artist. I would defend it as mine because I felt that. Right, I have an internal sense, and I think a lot of the fear becomes of not having that feeling. And I think if artists like use it like I did and try, they will end up having that feeling. And once you have that, to me, it's like, okay, I'm not afraid of this as an artistic tool. In fact, I just see opportunity now. And then I have a lot of examples of working with my clients where I have other really great, results from it and why it's a valuable tool. But I'm excited. I'm generally excited, but I'm also concerned about all those people that have careers and have built their lives on this thing and, built their income and have been planning to spend the rest of their life working in a similar way, and they're going to have to change fast, and that is scary. And I hope we have some way of dealing with that. Yeah, does that answer your question? Does that get somewhere there? What's your experience? Do you have a similar experience? Do you have
so I'll tell you,
contrast to that?
It is. I don't know how I can contrast it, but I'll tell you my experience. So. You knew who I was friends with when I was, and we went into a business, and after years of unfortunate loopings, we had decided to move to a different direction, and I was working with another person from the friends. I don't want to name anybody specifically but I want to like paint a type of a picture. And I think one of the things the reason why I went to do that is out of fear. I think I was too worried that I can't make it myself. And the moment I was myself, it actually got so much better. But the thing is, we had worked with artists that didn't treat themselves as entrepreneurs, and we were constantly experiencing being underpaid, asking for more than what they're paying for, and not finding the right niche and needing more than what we can get. That caused loopation, and it went to a point where I got so tired of music that I could not listen to a song. I could not play the guitar for a whole year. I just dived into video production. I was like, heck with it. And before that, we did video production with that company. But then I really dive into it. And knowing myself, you know me, whatever I got into, I get into it.
There's an obsession.
There's an obsession, which turns out it's autism. At least that's what I was told early last year. And I'm like, that changes nothing to me.
That's who I am. This is it.
You call it that. I call it this. Whatever. So
yeah.
So I dived into video production. I became a drone pilot, and I can show you my drones because I have like two, a big one and an FPV one, and then I got into wedding filmmaking. And I shot within like months. I got so good at it that after a year and a half, I shot like close to 70 weddings.
Wow, that's a lot.
So, and that taught me a lot of like how to work in a fast-pacing day and how to just have creative thinking over things that you can't control. And I've done music videos and things like that. And my goal was to honestly not rely on music. In a way, I wanted to be free, kind of like what Rick Rubin says. Do something that allows you to be musically free. And I wanted to get out of that loop where I'm going from one artist to another and they have no plan, they have no marketing idea, they have nothing, they have no budget for this, and it'll be just a one-off thing. So after that year of me being like completely, tired of playing music, I had an artist come over, and she hired me to do an EP, and she started giving me Suno songs as demos. And first, initially, I was like, "What the heck? Like,
why are you
this
coming
is
to me?
coming for our jobs." And then I did the same thing what you did. I'm like, you know what? If I'm basing my judgment out of fear and not like, let's dive in. Let's actually try to understand before I even say it's bad or it's coming for us. Then I started putting my old songs I wrote long ago, and I was singing, and I know if I want to sing, like I need like a couple of weeks and not drinking milk and a good cardio regime, and then I'm good. But it's a process.
Yeah.
So I was uploading my songs that I wrote, I produced, I sang, so it's my melodies, and I was messing around with Suno. I was like, holy crap, this is phenomenal. And I spent days like ideating, going back into ChatGPT, and it's
Take my money.
And it's not like, here, give me like a lyrics. It's literally like, here's a line, I want you to follow this structure, and then I'm like, I like this, I don't like that, like, and I wrote a song called "Scheduled Love" like a couple of months ago, which is so R&B and stuff. And I even taught this a program called Automy, my voice, so I can actually hear the song. I would sound with my voice, which is, I use it so that I can listen to it obsessively and learn it, and actually it helps me to sing over it, and I can get a better take. And imagine if you don't send MIDI notes and MIDI piano to singers, you sing actually well-sounding separate vocal stems with things. That's better than that. I'm like, I think this is a really, really good, but you have to have that sort of scientist mindset to see it this way. If you see it from the way of like, I don't know, who doesn't have these sort of ways of looking at it, everything is just different. I had an analogy. We all have this, but it doesn't mean that everybody is a photographer. But it also doesn't mean that you can't make good pictures if you understand how to use it. But nobody gives bad things for people having iPhones, having phones with these. Nobody says you can't take pictures, you don't own it, Apple owns it. It's a tool, just like Suno, just like all of these things are tools. And I think, I don't know, people need to be a bit more scientists and put their feelings a bit down and try to understand what these tools can actually help with them.
I mean, it's the same answer to most problems, right? It's
true.
It's fearful if it's at a distance, if it's odd, right? But once you start experiencing a wide variety of people, a wide variety of experiences, then those things become exciting, right? I mean, that's that. So I think it's the same answer to everything. Just try it, right? And I think in my conversations with the folks from Suno, it's they want to give the experience of making music to the world. And you know what? The feeling of making music, of actually creating, is my favorite feeling. You know, there's a couple up there that are like fundamental human like experiences that are transcendent, and making music is one of them. And I love their mission of giving that experience to everyone, right? And giving everyone the opportunity for that. I think that's a noble thing. So, exciting. I'm glad you had that experience. It sounds like you've had an amazing life, Danny. That's so cool to hear.
You know, what I've learned is I'm saying I because I'm speaking of my experience. I've got to trust myself and my wants and pursue. And that applies to a lot of people. A lot of people don't reach what they want because they don't trust themselves.
Sure.
You know, that's, I think. Yeah. And it's a lot of the public perception of their persona and stuff like that puts this invisible shield in front of them. No, we're going into... But so Rick Rubin, he said that music is a fundamental human right. Mm-hmm. You know, and I believe that. I believe that we as creators, that's another thing I was thinking a lot about the other day. Like, even my guitar doesn't do anything. The computer doesn't do anything. The creativity, and I imagine it flows through us, through our souls, through our hands, and the tools we use are translators. If you know what I mean, and I know you do.
I do. I think that's why, when I really talk to artists, they're not threatened by AI. Right? The people that I think are like real artists, that are making from their soul, they're like, oh, either it's like, oh, that's interesting, I don't care. Right? I get that because they already have their way of making and they just want to create from the soul, or they're excited about it. That's the general impression I get, right? I don't get this massive block from people that are really true artists. I think people that are struggling and really think about making a dollar, I think those are the people that have that thing, right? And that makes sense. I don't fault them for it. It is a threat.
I think to make something genuinely what you'd consider good, and I know saying good, that's such a word that it depends on the eye of the beholder. It'll take time, work, and care, and your own journey. Like just like you said about your train ride. Or like you remember my big band, so I was doing some weird ass. Every bar is a different time signature, and I was trying to see what Suno does with it, and it did not understand like different time signatures. I have a whole video that I sent you.
And I'm like, it doesn't get it.
It's 6/8, and then once, yes, it got it right. So that was very interesting to me. And all the things that you can do with it, separate it, and then now MIDI, you can change MIDI and all this stuff. To me, that's a absolute fun. And I don't know if people should. What do you feel people who have negative feelings towards this needs to see to kind of revamp that thought?
I'm not sure they're gonna.
No?
Revamp their thought, but my take would be actually play with it. Just experience it. I think that's as soon as what might help is actually put it in front of a child and see what they do, because they're not threatened by it at all. They just see the joy. I had this experience. I was out in the woods in Montana at a family ranch, and we had this horse that would come by in the field behind the house, and a child of the family named him Carrots, right? And they had this really cool experience, like handing carrots to the horse and stuff, and it was a fun bonding thing. And then I'm like, oh, let's write a song about carrots, and he's like, about the horse, And so the child and I just kind of make a song, and it was amazing. Like, he loved it, and he created something. He was able to create something that was gorgeous. That was, it sounded childlike. It sounded like him, and it had this beautiful thing. He was able to send it to his family, right? And in that moment, like, wow, what else? You know how hard it is to get excited about making music when you're given a violin as a 10-year-old? That's brutally hard. When are you going to get a sense like what keeps you going? What nurtures your soul as a child, as a music making, when all you hear, right? A child now doesn't hear much crappy music. Right? Like I had, maybe I never thought of this. Maybe it was a joy that I got to hear my dad in the basement, struggling to play through a song, and then struggling in rehearsals with his small band, his garage band that I would sit in the corner of and listen and maybe get a chance to play bass with, at some point. But I got to hear the struggle of making music and the joy of that conclusion. Most children don't get that opportunity, right? So what is their experience with an instrument, right? It's like, what the heck is this sound? It's so far from a destination that they don't see that process, perhaps, right? But this kid in that moment was able to get the feeling of creation. I don't know if he'll be a musician, but I know there will be hundreds of thousands of people that will have an experience like that as a child and be like, hey, I want to make art, right? I think that's gotta be an impact on people, right? It's like, oh, I know I can create something. I know that joy of it. So, another example, I think, beautiful, right? I hope that actually increases the creation of art, increases creative people. We need them, we need them for sure.
I have a similar story. I had my 4 nieces come here, visit us, because I got married a couple years ago. I don't know if I told you. I'm a married man.
Congratulations, but it feels good, doesn't it?
learning every day how to be a better husband. Every time you think you got it right,
Oh no,
you have somebody
no,
telling
no.
you no. But she's awesome. She's a killer fundraiser. She works for Nature
Wow,
Conservancy.
great, great.
She's phenomenal. So her sister's daughters came here, and we were like, let's write a song. Tell me something about your school day and yada yada. And then we recorded the song. All the four of them were singing, me singing. And then we wrote an entire song, and all they can sing is that freaking pop song. If I said it to you, you'd be like, that song could be the next Taylor Swift, like a little girl slumber party song. And I'm like, that's pure joy. And if somebody
Pure
comes
joy.
here and say, that's AI, and that's a party pooper.
I mean, it doesn't change the experience, right?
doesn't
And that
change
maybe that,
it.
and maybe that's the thing is, I've thought about this a lot. There's a little Buddhist streak in me, and everything is in change. Everything is, right. I'm not a human. I'm just occupying this stardust for a moment, right? A rock has just become something. A tree is treeing. A human is humaning, and we're moving towards something else always. And maybe it changes the product, but it doesn't change the experience, right? We're moving through this, we're doing this thing, and maybe music became a noun after a while, right? It was a verb. It's something we did as a group, right? And then because of recorded music, it became a product, a thing, a noun, a fixed thing. Okay, so we had this little couple hundred years, if that music was a fixed thing. I don't think that's its true nature. In many ways, it becomes this fluid thing again that everyone does, right? Where maybe it brings in more creation, from a young age, and we're creating things, and where it becomes a verb again. I don't know, maybe that's a divergent idea, but I love that concept that everything is in flow and music's changing. And I always kind of hated the fact that there's like a definitive version of any song. Like that's a false thing, right? It wasn't in music's inception what we've always had. Like, to Rick Rubin's point, the fundamental nature of it is we made it, right? And every time we made a piece of music, it was that moment, and then it was gone, right? And then we started recording it. We created like a definitive version of a song. That's the false thing. That's the unreal artifact. It's not. Music is maybe, to me, I guess it's this constantly changing thing, and this gives us that opportunity again, right? So now music does never have to be a fixed thing. It can always be in flux, which I think is beautiful. And I hope
so many songs gotten big because somebody dared to do a different version, a different idea, like
that's
Hill in
Rick Rubin,
Ibiza.
yeah.
Like, the original wasn't big until somebody created a remix, wasn't it?
Yeah, All Along the Watchtower was a Bob Dylan tune, right?
A lot of those songs that became big, it's because somebody like, let's do an interesting version. But I love Rick Rubin's mentalisms, or his thoughts that he's teaching in that book. Like, it's better to be done than to be perfect.
Oh yeah,
and I've run into a lot of those where I finished the song production. I'm like, yeah, we're good. A year later, can we change this?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're a different person a year later, so clearly you'd hear that thing.
No, it wasn't me. It was the artist.
Oh well, they're different, right? I mean,
They're
you hear
different,
things
yeah.
differently. You grow, you change, right? Every 7 years, we're a different person. Right?
Oh yeah.
So like, of course, you'd listen to something you did in the past and want to change it. I think that's beautiful. If you don't, that's the problem, right? You want to keep growing.
Yeah. Well, do you then change what the old one was, or do you create a new one to reflect your change in that life has brought you?
Yeah, I think your calling it done was the mistake.
What isn't that what Rick Rubin said? It's better to be done than be perfect.
My contrary to that would be like, I've made a version. That version is done, right? It's
And
like,
you're
okay,
done.
it's that song is always in flux, right? I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play it differently. You listen to a band in a tour, right? Every time they perform it, there's subtle differences. It's evolving over the tour. I think that's the beauty of it. I think the
that.
recorded version is a document of that moment in time. I can't. And just like a piece of architecture is like it's not done. It continues to evolve over the years as it weathers, as it patinas, as things break off, as nature grows around it. Right, everything is flowing and moving forward. I think music should be thought of that way. Yeah, at least that's what I tell the people.
Oh
At least
no,
that's how I get my clients to just finish. Like we gotta put something out. It's a document of this moment in time. This isn't definitive. It's not defining you. It's just call it a version. Let's just get it out.
that's
okay.
funny. I guess that's why one of the reasons why I liked my big band is because it was an evolving thing. It was never the same, even though I had notes written and parts, but it was an evolution in how it was unfolding live, if it makes sense.
Sure.
Very interesting. What's your experience in terms of video creation when it comes to AI?
So my experience. So first off, I started a school in New York City. So Berklee's graduate school in New York City, Berklee NYC.
Nice.
And so we had 3 graduate programs. The one that I was in charge, I helped build the entire structure of the whole school. But then I was also in charge of one major. The major at the time was called Live Experience Design, and the whole point of it was to really investigate and make the students capable of being highly technical in the contemporary live event space. So that included dealing with lots of screens, dealing with lots of projectors, so big LED screens like you'd have at most arena shows now, projectors and projection mapping, sound systems, so how to do sound system design, multi-channel audio, interactive control, so how we can put the artists on stage in control of all these things, and then how to use cameras with that really effectively, right? Just assuming that every live event is going to have a remote audience and a local audience. How do I make it sound good for both of those, and how that is, and sound good for the instrument and people on stage also. So there's at least 3 very distinct sound mixes, and all have different needs and different challenges. How do we adjust lighting? Oh, and lighting, right? And you mentioned the actual lights, right? So how do we control lighting so it gives an effective experience for the local crowd, which is dramatic and highly dynamic, but also does well for the cameras, right? Which is a whole different challenge of sensors and manipulating that. How do we deal with the screens behind the character, the person, the performer? Because now your camera's going to see that screen. You have all these challenges of sync and flicker and just what the content is, so it can be effective, when you have a close-up of someone, but also for people that are in the audience, so that screen is interesting, which is a huge challenge. And then how do we synchronize all these? So how do we make all these technical systems function together? So, I designed that major, and we worked hard, and we had a beautiful facility to explore this concept in, and it's a huge challenge. It requires lots of different skills and such. A lot of that is content creation for the screens. And that was actually the place that a lot of my students really gravitated toward, is like, 'cause it's so immediately, intensely impactful. What do you see on these big screens? And we had a huge LED screen in our theater that we could play with, and we could like pull apart into pieces and do cool things with. So in the content creation with AI, I was designing that program right when like Midjourney was just starting to be really effective, right? And we could create these beautiful images quickly. Which really changed the game drastically, right? So if we thought of like, even when I came into the program, what I thought the content creation classes would be, I assumed they were going to be, using Premiere and After Effects, to build like, it was very much like a motion graphics kind of approach to build these things. And then also how do we manipulate camera feeds to put them onto the screens as well in interesting ways. And we'd use tools like Resolume and Touch Designer and Max MSP for those. But quickly it's like, well, I want to make content. What's the fastest way to make content? Let's experiment with this Midjourney thing and make beautiful images. And it's stunning. Just the quality of what students were able to create immediately. It was it sped up the iteration so fast, right? Where it's like, I have this idea of what I want to see. I type a prompt, I get it, I put it up on the screen behind the person. Yes, that's right. No, that's not. And then I go back, right? So I can see, I have this like feedback path that's very, very effective. And what it ends up being, I think, at least with, so that's a lot of my experience with AI and video, is like making those things and then trying to build on that, right? And the cool thing is, because the school is in New York, it's surrounded by Broadway and these amazingly skilled technical people. Like I don't think there's another place in the world that has that level of music, of like just entertainment technology, of like effective projection designers and lighting designers. It's like, it's this amazing place, right? They're so skilled, and it's so easy for them to get their word out, and they have such high budgets, and they can make these things. It's not really like it doesn't, like, fidelity doesn't impress them. It's the idea that's impressive. Right. And so our education, because we're influenced by all these people in this environment, it's the idea that's the most important thing. And so it really becomes not about like how cool the image is, but how well it relates to the story. How well the audience, like, does that audience feel what that image, does that connect to the meaning of the piece of theater in the moment, right? It's all in service of this piece of art. And I think the AI tools allow us to get to that way faster. So it's not like, oh, I can make something cool. It's, I can get the thing that has the right impact that meets the nature of this art. And in New York City, you're dealing with Broadway, right? You have these massive budgets and massive stories, and they're incredibly important. And the video that's on those screens is very much in service of. And they've thought of, what's the emotional impact of this moment? What's the meaning of these lyrics, right? And everything has to work together for that purpose. And so, and they have, there's so much, they're so sure of themselves artistically. They don't accept the like, oh, it's okay. It's got to be the thing that so it allows us to iterate. We can get there fast, and it allows lower budget things to get there. Right. And so I think what we had before is now, and the same thing in music, we had the very high budget could get the beautiful image and the beautiful interaction that met the emotional needs of the general piece of art. But on the lower budget side, it was like, okay, here's a piece of stock footage. That's all we can afford. And it's okay. It kind of matches, but we'll just use it because that's what we can get to. Right. And now the distance between these two things is getting closer. And which I think is amazing. Everyone gets access to these amazing tools, and we can create beautiful things. Younger artists can prove themselves. They can prove their idea, right? And the audience isn't blinded by fidelity, but they will be blinded by the idea you have. So, that's my video production kind of experience. What it does also tell me, though, is what is the trajectory of AI in music, because it's already kind of happening in imagery drastically, right? So the trajectory was, the first thing in Midjourney was, all you could do was type a prompt, wait, and get an image. And if you didn't like it, you would type another prompt and you would get a totally freaking different image. Like, there was no way to modify. It was like luck, right? And it was always this big whole thing, right? And that felt quite not artistic, right? It felt this like, oh, that's a cheap thing that's just taking our jobs, right? And over time, I've learned about, because I've trained my own models now. I've worked with these things in depth, and I understand the technology behind it fairly well. That's the necessary first step, right? The necessary first step is like the all from a prompt, right? And then over time, they started building in tools that are more granular, that allow for editing of small things, that allow for the LLM to quote unquote understand the image it created so it can identify portions of it on its own based on your prompts and modify things in logical ways, right? It starts learning, oh, humans only have 5 fingers on each hand, right? Like these things, like it just takes time of more training. And, you say like it's an LLM, but it's a huge collection of different models and different reasoning things, right? It's not one simple model. It's this complex interaction of these little pieces, which makes sense. It's how our brain is too in a lot of ways. And so over time, right? So that first thing felt, oh, this is a challenge to us. It's going to take our jobs away, blah, blah, right? And the artists maybe weren't excited about it, right? But over time, it gets more granular. It gets, now I can say, change the color of that person's hair. Okay, so now an artist starts being able to put their sensibility into it. It starts feeling like it does when you start creating. It starts feeling like painting because you're able to work with someone else. And also you start getting the feeling of collaboration, which is super exciting, right? And now it's built into Photoshop. Right. And now it's like so granular that the best artists, the best visual artists I know are using it constantly because it's granular enough that it feels like art. Mm-hmm. And it's now just a central part of these tools, clearly. And the kind of threats have gone away, right? And we see this same. And so as soon as Suno came out, I was like, oh, step one, right? When they first put it out, it was like, oh, you could. And I was using Bark and a couple other audio LLMs, text to audio models. But when they came out with their thing, it was like, oh, you just type in a prompt and it makes a song. I'm like, well, wow. First off, it has good harmony. The production actually freaking good. Like, oh wow, that's like a stereo guitar. Like that's a trick I would do, right? Like they figured some stuff out. But you could only type a prompt in and then get a whole song. And then everyone started complaining. I'm like, well, I know the trajectory. Right. The same thing happened in video and in image. Right. It was like, oh, the trajectory is they'll just get more granular until it feels artistic, until I can put my sensibility. And that's clearly what's happening. Right. The Suno Studio is out now, and I have the stem separation in it, the ability to extend, the ability to remix. Like all those tools are coming in, and I think we'll see the same thing. Artists will get hooked to it, as they should, because it's an amazing tool. And it's just the way of making it. It also gets rid of the like created by AI. Like, what does that mean? It's meaningless when it's just part of the tool, right? When it's just the paintbrush, I'm like, oh, is that made by the paintbrush? No, it's made by the painter, right? And I think once the tools get granular enough, it is creative. It feels like making. I'm putting my sensibility into it, and I feel better that everything we studied at Berklee really helps make great things with Suno. Like I can talk about references to culture and references to musical styles. It understands that I can describe format. If I make lyrics that I know have a good rhythmic feel to the words, suddenly the music it creates feels right? All the things that I know about music help me make better songs with Suno. It can't make music from garbage, right? And as I iterate through, everything we studied about music history, about musicology, comes into play in a huge way. So I do feel confident about my education and about what we did together. And I think maybe that will encourage more people. I do think it'll be interesting to see what becomes really valuable in music education. And I think maybe it's these like music appreciation and music history become more and more important, because that's the language, right? The talking about it and the communicating about music becomes really important in dealing with the creation tools. Yeah.
While you were talking, one thing that it got into my head is everything that you start doing, or whoever wants to start something, nobody is perfect at it. So when I picked up the guitar, I sucked at it first. When I picked up production, videography, you sucked at it first. Same thing with anything.
Yeah.
Same thing with, look at these tools. Like when VO came out, they weren't going to sit around and wait until you can go granular and drop it. Like the only way to get better at it is to see what public perception or how people are using it, what comes out to be faults. I don't know. you know what I'm going towards. So
Sure.
like, where am I going with this? I'm trying to think. All of this takes time to get better at, and of course with our knowledge and people that put their time to be good filmmakers, we'll use the tools in a complete different way than if somebody who has no idea. And it's funny when they talk about let's learn a prompting for like specific video creators, because so my first entry to that, I worked with this artist for years doing music videos and songs and stuff, and we spent like days filming videos, and we had shot lists and stuff. And he comes back once from like an AI video convention. He's like, hey, we got to get onto this train. Let's do a video. And I'm like, and me there already prejudging. I'm like, okay, let's put that feeling down. Let's check this out. And a lot of people will think that it's a fast one button done. It took nearly 40 hours to create a music video that I can show it to you. It's on my website. I show it to anybody and they're like, what? This is AI? And the amount of work that went into it is crazy. So we did a whole model of this guy. I took my photo camera, like 60 megapixels, took close-up shots, eyes, head, hands, legs, everything. And the whole idea, again, like what you said, it's the idea. That's what it matters. You know, you can create good videos, but if there's no like emotional hook to it, there's no like the idea isn't there, then it's not gonna be good. You can use a camera, you can use AI, it's gonna be not good. It's the same thing with a song. You know, you can prompt 2 seconds later, or you can work on the song like what we talked about, and then, you know, it will be different workflows. So we were using VO3 at the time, and one thing that we learned is getting a drone shot is almost impossible. We've tried everything. We've tried everything. So like, but I have a really crazy story that I figured out afterwards with the Runway. So we tried everything. We tried to write prompts that had like 4 different ways of saying it, like bird's eye view, high altitude, up down shot, things like that. It's like AI did not understand what a flyby and orbital shot is. So we had to learn kind of how to simplify the communication.
Sure.
In a way, because we tested like JSON prompts, and it's not like it will give us substantially better quality results. Sure. But everything was ingredient based and picture based. So there was not much of just text to video, but ingredient to video. If you have used VO, and certain things Google VO wouldn't do, so you always have to have some form of a backup model that can create something similar. And nowadays, most of them are really freaking good. So there's no it's like, amazing. That one is not good, that one is not good. And so we had a story there, a whole concept, and the idea was that this guy is having a mental and physical transformation in Nepal. He's climbing, he's going through weathers, and it's a metaphysical type of thing of his change in life. And we used a bunch of his pictures from his phone that he took there. So if you look at the video, a lot of climbing photos were turned into videos. And he was like, dude, that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
And we were holding our heads. And I can tell you there, if I show you, I can complain about 4 shots not being my favorite, but close-ups, I'm like, are you serious?
That's amazing.
Like it's crazy. So idea again is idea, and to do something that's truly good, it takes time and effort.
It does.
And if somebody tells me that I have to then say it's AI made and people can like switch and not see my work because I used AI in it, I would feel a little weird about it, because I put blood, sweat, and tears into that work.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. And there are folks who wants to do this filtering process of AI made or hybrid works and things like that. And I'm like, anybody who's a songwriter and started somewhere, they're gonna have shitty songs. I'm sorry. Like there's nobody talks about human slop. There is human slop. I write shitty songs every once in a while, and I look at them.
Yeah.
Most of us do, and guess what? That's part of the freaking process of getting good at it. And what if people who are using that app, their way of trying to get good at it is to use that app, and down the line they might actually become good songwriters. So I don't know. I think there are certain things that are a little interesting, and I know there are a lot of musicians who are for the whole filtering out AI, but I mentioned, what if then you just re-record every single part?
I mean,
it won't be AI.
The idea of filtering it out it's never going to work, because the tools we use, they're embedded in them, and they will be more and more, right? It's just okay. Let them say that. Fine. It's just not going to work. It's not a thing. It doesn't, because they're treating AI as this like monolithic, oh, there's Skynet that's doing this for you and you have no input. But it's a granular thing. I'm using it in 1,000 ways to control all these little bits, you know. So, you know, let them say that. It's just good. They're gonna suffer in the long run, and they're Quixote, right? Like windmills, right? It's like it's not gonna lead to anything. Yeah.
So now I'm going to shift a little bit.
Please do.
And I'm going to shift to a word that I like to use nowadays, creative entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is a very important lesson that contemporary nowadays artists who go to school or come out of school, I think two are different, coming out of school, what habits, what sort of mentalisms do they need to have to be successful in the creative entrepreneurship space?
Design your lifestyle. Like, you have to live life. Design that life. Like, really, really think, like, how do you want to live? And make your life amazing. We all want to create something. We all want to live a certain way. I want to have a lifestyle that fits me. I'm not talking about like how many things you have, but like day to day. Like, I want to wake up at a certain time. I want to have my cup of coffee. I want to have a chance to talk to my wife. I want to walk my dog. These are like healthy things that make life worth. And I think we have this amazing opportunity in like, okay, my life, I don't own, I coach, it's like the gig life. I have all these little things that I do, and it's perfect for me. I get up kind of late on some days, have my coffee. I take Zoom lessons with artists to coach them. I also spend 2 days a week just fixing other people's houses, like doing manual labor for them, like fixing like broken doors and locks and things. Because I want to be moving around, and I want to be interacting with people, and I want to be making people's everyday life better. It makes me feel good. They get a benefit, and it's something, right? And I designed this life, and it's perfect for me. I'm incredibly happy, and I'm doing a whole bunch of little things that is it's perfect for me. And I think a big change of that, the reason this happened is a lot of his journaling, right? I write in my journal all the time, and I think that's a hugely effective thing to just get out, right? And I thought about that. I thought about that exactly. What do I want my life to be like? What do I want every day to be like? And that's what I decided. I actually wrote it out. I'd like to be spending a couple days of work fixing houses, because I like moving and I want to take care of my body. And if I'm only my work with art tends to be in front of the computer, and I'm good at it and I can make money doing it, but that's not going to support my body through the rest of my life. And so I said to that, I want to this, right? And so in designing my life and thinking about that through, I really kind of came to this conclusion of all these little things that I want to be doing that satisfy me and that satisfy other people, and that give me time to take care of my family. And then 3 years later, without actually like pushing hard, that is my life, right? It kind of manifested around me, and a privileged person that has lots of opportunities. But my life wasn't like that before, right? That's my version of entrepreneurship, is just designing a life with a bunch of little things and accepting the like limited income it brings, right? I don't have a 9 to 5. I'm making a lot less money than I was when I was, say, working for Berklee and building a school, but I'm also not living in New York City. I'm also not, there's much more time with my family. I'm happier, I'm healthier, I'm 40 pounds lighter, like everything improved about my life when I decided to do this. So I think there's maybe a sense of entrepreneurship that has to be like hyper ambitious. And I think a lot of because in my program that I designed, we were very much in design thinking, which is very much an entrepreneurial mindset that I agree a lot with. Things like a bias toward action, just start doing instead of like thinking about all the time, right? Constant iteration is built in design thinking. Like, design thinking is an amazing framework for designing really ambitious, big things, right? Very closely related to like sprints and what do they call that? I forget that framework for software engineering. That's like all based on sprints. Anyway, my entrepreneurship was designing a life that's perfect for me, that accepts the downsides of it. Like, okay, there's not a whole lot of income. I'm making all my own meals, right? So it's like a lot of that was like reducing expenses and reducing the ambition, which is great. I don't have to make something gigantic. I can make a beautiful family, happy, and I can have these little projects, and I can help people out. I can support my community, and I can be really happy in that time. So I guess that would be my main thought about entrepreneurship, is it doesn't have to be this hyper ambitious, very capitalist, like you have to, because we do have pressure. Like you have to make something huge. You have to change the world. You have to do this. I don't know. I think you can design a life that makes sense for you, and I think there's a lot of opportunities now to do that. And so think about designing your life and getting your daily life really, really kind of dialed in, and then allow things to grow from there. And you'll have time to do so many beautiful things and make art.
I agree with you. I mean, there are days or weeks where I don't feel creative. I just want to be in the nature, do different things, and then there are days where I feel like I can get done of 2 weeks worth of work. It's like a fluid, thing. But what sort of habits do you love that you do that makes you a better person every day?
Writing in my journal is the big one.
Journaling?
It's huge. I mean, huge. Writing in my journal. I can't talk about how important that is for me. And then in general for creatives, I think it's a massive, like just acceleration of what you can accomplish. There's a great book, Julie Cameron, The Artist's Way. It's kind of it's a phenomenal book. The Artist's Way is, I always hated self-help books. I always thought, I feel like self-help books, for one, I think it's a lie. Like self-help doesn't make sense. We're communal organisms, right? Help comes through like interactions. So it always felt weird to me. But I had 3 mentors suggest this book to me, and the first one said to do it. And I'm like, screw you. I don't like self-help books. I don't need that, right? And the second one, I was like, you said really? And then the third one was Mike Gordon, The Basis for Fish, who's been a mentor of me for a long time, and just an amazing person, and a beautiful, beautiful mind, right? Just just like different in the most beautiful way. And then he suggested it to me. He's like, oh, you really should do the Artist's Way. I'm like, fine. Whatever, I'll do it, right? And it just happened to line up with, I was teaching him how to use Ableton Live. And we just kept on getting into discussions about other things, So he told me to do this. And so the fundamentally of the Artist's Way is there is a number of habits that creative people can go through that really help and that have helped in the past, writers and artists in general. And one of them is to just write 3 pages every day. It doesn't matter what it is, just fill 3 pages with words every day. And what ends up happening, and it happened to me, she says it in the book, she says, this will happen. And you're like, well, I'm different. I'm the unique person, right? And then I write my 3 pages, and just what she said, like the first page is like shopping lists. It's like all the crap that your mind just circles through, right? It just gets out and you allow it. And I even have some pages that are just covered in individual letters, like just the letter D over here, because I'm like seeing my letter D. I'm like, I hate how the letter D looks. I'll just write the letter D 100 times, right? And by the 3rd page, like stories are coming out. Right? Like things, like ideas and images are just like, because I'm like, what the hell can I write now? I got nothing to write. And then suddenly I'm in like some weird latent space in my brain that I never accessed. And I'm saying things for no reason. And I'm just like trying to fill a page. And suddenly my opera comes out. Because I was in graduate school and I wrote a space opera, right?
Wow.
Which was, there was, it ended up being a big production, but the whole plot and the characters just started flowing out of me because I was writing every day, right? So that's amazing. So that's one habit. Another habit is just study philosophy, which is, I can't tell you how powerful this has been, right? Going through like Stoic philosophy, going through Buddhism, and just like listening to audiobooks about it and writing about it, and just like reading Koan, I think that's how you say it, like Zen Buddhism. And not that I follow anyone particular, but like they're struggling with the fundamental nature of humanity, and you start realizing that nothing has changed, right? If you read Plato's The Republic, like, okay, everything we're going through now with our government, with human relations, it's in that. And that was written before Jesus, right? This thing, it's like, wait a minute. Democracies always move to tyrannies, and this is the path, and this is the kind of person that causes that. And like, okay, everything Socrates is saying, I'm viewing here, right? This is what's happening. How interpersonal relations work. It's all been the same, right? Nothing's really hugely different. So, it's been a glory to kind of explore that, to have time to, and reading poetry, same thing, reading some Shakespeare, reading poetry is amazing. So having the time, those are the habits that I have really, really enjoyed, and I think really support me as an artist.
I love it. One word came to my mind when you were saying all that was curiosity. You're curious and you're always want to learn and not judge anything. That's, I think, is an incredibly great personal trait. I love that. I feel very similar to that because
I know you do, Danny. That's why we connect, man.
I hate not understanding something.
Oh my God.
And I get into it to a point where I over-understand it.
Yeah. I totally. I'm sure. That's why you got into like microtonal music. It's like you understood 12 notes. Well, there's got to be a 13th, and like, okay, it doesn't matter if no one else can understand it, right? It's got to be there.
Yeah.
It's gotta satisfy that. Dude, using a AI to learn is the best use of AI. If there's, I mean, so I think this is one thing that I think humanity will address and will learn about it. So I always ran this experiment with my students. I don't know if I ever did it in a class of yours, where I would say at the beginning of class, I'm going to lie 3 times during this class.
You did. I remember hearing that, but do it again.
Yeah. So
challenge the viewers.
I was reading Descartes a lot, right? Which is like, you should doubt everything. And I would read all these books about music and about technology, and about music. And I realized that the way I read is very much Descartes. I doubt. Like I don't trust the author. I doubt everything the author says until I prove it. So I'll read a book that'll have a mathematical equation in it, and I'll go put that mathematical equation into MATLAB or just play with it with a pencil and paper on a graphing calculator. And I want to prove him wrong. That's always been my thing. I want to prove you wrong. And usually they'll be right. Right, but I'm not accepting anything they say. And I realize that's really the way. Like if you walk into everything with doubt, and doubt isn't. People can be offended if you doubt them, right? I love when people doubt me. I want you to, because if you doubt me and then you prove me right or prove me wrong, we both learn from that. And you've learned a lot more. Like if you prove me wrong, fantastic, like awesome. First you get to teach me. I'm not insulted by that. And you definitely know it better, right? So I love that idea of like, okay, you have to know yourself it's true, right? So I would do this thing with my class, like I'm going to lie a couple times during this class. And so you can't trust what I say, right? You can't trust anything I say now. If you know there's going to be 3 lies, then everything, it could just be 1 lie. Everything that class, you're going to have to doubt everything. And to get through that test, you're going to have to question and prove for yourself. Everything I say, is a major third, 4 half steps? Maybe I said it was 3. You have to figure that out, right? You have to do some research. You have to confront that. And in that, you will definitely know it better, right? And so I think that's beautiful. And I am so excited when I can find an author wrong about something. Oh my God, my favorite book is Musamathics by Gareth Loy. It's a stunning collection of books about the mathematics of music. And I found one error in it. One equation has a negative sign that shouldn't be there. And I sent him an email. I said, oh man, on page this, I think I found this thing. I never heard back, but I think he would like it. I think he would like that. I think he would. And I was so excited when I found it. I was like, oh, well, there's just a printing mistake, right? I don't fault Gareth Loy for it. It's just a mistake, right? But the fact that I found it meant I was really investigating deeply. And so that's what I love about learning with AI. Is that, so my main use for AI is I'll start out like most things with it. I go to it, like I love Claude. I think Claude is stunningly built. If I compare like OpenAI's ChatGPT to Anthropic's Claude, I think Claude is designed. I mean, it's Anthropic. It means human-centered, right? That's like their fundamental thing. And I don't know much about the company, but I know working with Claude that when I say, hey, you are going to be a teacher and you are going to work with me to help me understand this thing. And we have to go back and forth. And I want you to question me at the end of every state through this. And we are going to work through a concept together. Claude will be wrong about things, which is awesome. I love that. Because it will, like I did this the other day. We were talking about the Gabor transform and wavelets, right? So this is like some pretty advanced like mathematics that's around a lot of like spectrum analysis. And it was describing like how phase changes as the wavelet moves along a waveform, but it says like phase maintains the same. And I'm like, and I stopped it. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I don't understand this. It doesn't feel like this is right. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. You're right. I overlooked this thing. That's what Claude said to me. I overlooked this thing. And then it starts giving me a description of how it was wrong, right? It kind of like thanked me for correcting it, But the fact is, I know I can't trust it, which forces me to, most of the time it's right. But it's not like there's an old type of learning, which is weak when you just like accept what someone says. Just accepting someone's word. That's the danger of religion, right? That's like, if I just accept these things, that's a problem, right? I need to prove for myself. It's Descartes. It's like philosophy. And so in working with the AI, I really have to question, maybe it's wrong about this. And that is, I think, perhaps coming from an old type of working with a computer, we just expect the computer always to be right. And that's how we judge it, right? But I think there's beauty in it sometimes being wrong, and that it forces me to question. Does that really make sense, right?
Oh, it does. Yeah. No, it does.
I have to ask myself of that. Anything they say,
I thought you were asking me.
But it is. So I love that. And so, but the crazy thing with Claude is that it actually will make interactive programs to help you understand a concept, which is freaking amazing, right? So I'll be like, I'm struggling with, how logarithms function. And I always said, this is a great like way to work with the LLM. Help me gain an intuition for. Oh my God. Like every time I build a thing, like I'm like, Claude, help me gain an intuition for how logarithms function. Right. And so it understands what that means. Like, or I want to say understand. It's a weird thing, right? It responds as if it understands that concept. Right. And it will give me, it'll make an interactive demonstration. Like it'll like make a website, it'll publish it. I can like move faders and it will change the graph of it a little bit. And dude, and then it'll give me these really simple, like it knows to give the kind of questions a professor always gives, which is like the kind that probes intuition instead of programming, like, can you do the math, right? Where it's like the numbers that it uses in a math equation are very easy to mentally consider so that you can answer it quick and it proves you understand, like, intuit your way through this problem. And it's very good at creating those kind of questions. And then it will always, and the cool thing is the answers don't have to be like, this is the number. It'll say, like, what's your answer and why? And so I'll answer what my answer and I'll answer why. And they'll be like, oh, you answered it right, but there's a bit of nuance you didn't quite get in your why. And then it'll continue on. Like, it's a phenomenal teacher. It even uses the language that I use. Like, good job on this. Like, your intuition is getting close, but here's one, like, it relate, like, I want to, like, I have a similar, I want to please it, which is weird. But in the best way for a teacher, you should want to please a teacher, right? So, it's amazing what it can do as a teacher. And I think that's my, like, if I'm saying any use of AI that I love, it's like I can follow a passion and, like, learn something in an amazing way with it. It's super, super exciting. I think that's much, much, much more interesting than, like, do this thing for me.
Interesting.
Help me learn this thing. Is the best way to use it, and I'll spend hours just going through and learning with it, and it's exciting, and it's really fun. Like, I've taken my understanding of music, of math, of biology, of psychology. Wow. I've taken these things so far because that's how I interact with it, as if it's someone that's learning with me, and I think that's powerful.
And again, it's how you interact with it.
Yeah,
I'm very specific whenever I start a certain job, like, you are a meta ad expert.
Yes.
I need your help for my wedding videography company.
Yep.
I need you to think about pain points that
Yeah.
brides would have. You have all these prerequisitions to kind of prepare for what you want it to act. I spent a lot of time creating custom GPTs.
Sure.
And I will get back to that because I was thinking about something while we were talking. And I created this project in ChatGPT where it's all about learning. So I say, based on what you know about me, teach me something that you think I would benefit from.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
And it's awesome. Like, once, I kid you not, it taught me, you're not a videographer. You help customers do this. And it completely reframed, and I'm going like goosebumps here, completely reframed how I should sell myself. And it's not like, hey, I'm a music producer, hey, I'm a digital marketer, or this and this. Think of the value or what pain you're solving for them instead of saying I'm just a videographer. Because nowadays, I'm not just a videographer. I'm giving content ideas, just like we talked earlier. It's all about the idea.
Yeah.
Brand ideas, branding strategies, and all these stuff. So it's awesome. Honestly, I learned from that a lot. And I started creating this custom GPT, one of them. So what I do is I watch a bunch of YouTube videos and I use Note GPT to get the transcript. And then I put that in my files of my custom GPT. Like for YouTube, I created one that has like 100 hook ideas and structures for creating short form content, structures for this. I spent so much time, man, learning YouTube that after that I told myself, no more learning, just execute.
Well, that's the problem that I run into.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask.
You get so prepared, you never do the thing.
Because I feel like you and I have very similar personalities in a way.
Yeah.
And the way we get into stuff, which is why we get along so well. But also, like, I saw myself spending more time learning and be like, yeah, I know that, then just freaking do it.
Yeah. You plan forever. I got this great plan. All right.
And my wife heard too many of those plans.
So one of the big issues, and I think Anthropic, I mean, I would push you to try work with Claude a little bit more.
Okay.
One of the things it does really well, and maybe it's just because how I've interacted with it, but one of the big challenges with AI right now is it's not proactive at all. it's always reactive, right? I have to always tell it to do something. It doesn't, it's not proactive. And I think this is going to be a big change when we start using AI more and more in education. We're going to have to make the AI be more proactive, right? Like say, hey, I noticed you didn't do so well on your ear training 2 exam. I've made you a number of exercises that you should listen to on your jog this morning, right? Like I wake up and it's proactive. It gives me things to do. That's going to be the big, for me, that will be the big next step, particularly for education, that it actually encourages you to do something and it helps make you a better person, just on its own, right?
So it kind of sees what you're doing, and then it offers you a solution or tells you what you should. It's so what?
But let me just finish the thought.
Okay,
right?
I'm sorry.
So
Go ahead.
Anthropic is getting closer and closer to that. So ChatGPT does this too. It finishes its response, and then it like might offer, hey, are these questions, or do you want us to explore these things, right? Claude will jump right into, let's do it. Can I do the first step of this? Like, so if I have it do a plan of like, okay, I would like a video production strategy for my first YouTube launch. At the very bottom, it's like, can I make you the script for the first video? Right? Can I make you an interactive tool that demonstrates this concept, right? Like it really is pushing the design thinking philosophy of like bias to action.
Now, could you just
go for
change that within the settings of how you want ChatGPT to act? So like in the settings, you can change its general functions and how it should speak to you and yada, yada. And you can change that in the custom GPU where you can, I think it could do that. You just said, make sure to end it with an actionable first step.
Yeah, great.
Process.
Totally could.
I think.
Totally could. Totally could do it. Right. But that's still on you. You know what I mean?
It's still on me.
It's still on you, and it's still not proactivity. And maybe I had, when I was using with ChatGPT, I didn't find those questions at the bottom very useful. They rarely connected with what I wanted to do. What I found with the Anthropic, and they're getting better so fast. Like every time I log into Suno, I'm like, I don't know where I am. This is all like new, right? Which is amazing. That's actually kind of the fun of it, right? And I spend a lot of time learning the tools instead of making the thing, which is a challenge. And maybe this is happening in ChatGPT. It probably is, right? They're competitive. But I noticed recently with the Anthropic stuff that it just biased toward, and maybe it was trying to show off its capability. Like the Claude stuff is very good at code and very good at making things, and maybe they built into their like general prompt, right, that it should always try to, if possible, it should try to make a computer program for you, right? And that's what it's great at. It's like it'll always be like, can I make you an interactive demonstration of this? Like, fuck yeah, make the interactive demonstration, and that just, I guess, what it points to is the direction. The direction is proactivity. The direction is going to be like, I want it to know more about me, so that it can make those suggestions. Like, well, yeah.
Have you messed around with Google's app creation tool?
No, tell me about it.
So Google has this whole AI suite, and it's crazy because you can create apps, but in order to actually like let anybody else use it, you have to use an API and it'll use credits, so you kind of have to pay for it. But
sure,
I mucked up this app for like short form content, and my idea was there that I want to upload a transcript or a YouTube link, and I want that to analyze those the transcript and extract repurposable content and turn those into 60-second video ideas, title, thumbnail ideas. So basically like one place where you can get a lot of repurposing tools.
Amazing.
And within like minutes, it created one. I was like, holy cow. Yeah. Like you can upload, you can upload that, you can upload whatever, and great tool. It's crazy what you can do design wise, even Lovable. I have a buddy who used Lovable, and he said Lovable has the worst, what is it called when AI makes stuff up? Hallucination.
Yeah.
But he said that if you create like a few page like master prompt, or he had a different name for that, where you write everything specifically what you want it to do, all the information, then it lessens, it makes the hallucinations happen less.
Sure.
But it's almost crazy to keep up with all this AI stuff, because once you think that one is better than the other, then the other already kept up. So it's like now there isn't a better really model in video, but more like which one can help you with that given situation.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm about to. So recently, I got into course creation, which is kind of interesting because I never thought I would do courses. But one of my mentors after Berklee, Michael Whitaker, I did a lot of work with him in the past, and he called me. He knows that I'm doing video stuff and AI and things like that, and he's like, "Hey, why don't we join and do something about creative entrepreneurship, marketing types?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, let's do it."
Sure.
And he saw my AI stuff, my videos, and one thing I had to learn, which was interesting, is knowing something is not the same as teaching something.
For sure.
And it's crazy. So I spent like weeks talking to a blank camera, trying to explain a simple situation that I know how to do.
Yep.
But then I learned that knowing to do something is not the same as teaching. So as a teacher, what did you do to learn how to teach the things that you know? What's the simplest and the most important thing that you can give folks that have this situation?
Treat human beings like computers.
Really?
So anything you're trying to get them to know, what is the computer program that is step by step that gets you there, right? So this goes back to the first thing we were talking about of me having a early education, and like my first friends were computers, right? I programmed a Commodore 64 and I made it do things. And so it was taking this complex task, this very complex thing that we have to get to, but thinking, okay, what are the specific individual small tasks and knowledge bits that are necessary to build on to get you there? Right. And so that is it. That was my approach to education. It's like, okay, we got to teach this really complex thing. What are the individual steps that if I was teaching a computer to do this, what are the little things it would have to do first, right? Like assume that they are not going to make a leap of intuition, right? It's going to be this step, this step, this step. I think the biggest, some of the biggest issues in education, it's also creating a community among them, right? So that was one. And then the other one is, and this is hard, much, much harder online, but you're teaching people. And so however many people are in the room, that's what matters. It's the people there that matters, right? So you have to teach those people. And so there is that's what I loved about, teaching at Berklee is we had this amazing group of people, phenomenal group of people in a room, and I was able to learn about their weird little minds and I enjoy that. Let's figure out what makes Danny tick. Well, that guy is super fast and super excited and will go beyond too much, and I just got to worry that I don't set him on a rabbit hole that's going to damage him, right? It's like that, And so what are the variety of things? So with Danny, I want to say less. And I want to let him just go, right? Other people, it would be different, right? So that's one aspect, which is huge, right? And that's teaching in person. But it's really thinking through these steps. And I think the other one is state the obvious. So it feels weird sometimes. People in a normal group, if you state something very obvious, they might get insulted. Because they might think, oh, of course I know that. Well, why are you saying that, right? In an educational context, if you state the obvious, it actually allows people that don't know these things to feel included and accepted, right? And a professor stating the obvious is a glorious thing. because it brings everyone into the discussion, right? Everyone's like, if you state the thing that seems incredibly, incredibly simple, and you just state that thing that they probably should know. But you know what? We're all come from different backgrounds. We miss little different things in our education, right? When you just state that obvious, and that's that first step of that computer program, right? Those first steps in that are incredibly stupid, obvious, right? Maybe. But if you really state them, everyone can join the conversation because they feel accepted. They feel like, oh, that person didn't make an assumption about me that I would know this thing, right? And I have this piece of knowledge that I can build this whole thing up from, right? Those are the things. Start from nothing, build it up. Whatever is like all the pieces that are necessary, go bit by bit, and you get there faster. If it feels slow, but you get there faster.
Thank you. Like earlier talked about custom GPT. When do you think we have that in music where we can create a custom music GPT? Like that would be very interesting where I can create my own model based on my writing, my charts, my playing, and I could interact with my own style of music and it generates stuff for me.
Sure. I mean, you don't think we're there yet?
Oh, I think so. I'm just curious. I think so. It's just a matter of access to something like that, and how would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can look forward a bunch of ways. I think we're going to see. I mean, I think that's what music labels are going to be. Right? It's a music label, probably already there. Is just going to train a model on all the okay, what's the Warner Brothers PT? Like their thing. It's trained heavily on all that, right? Or it's happening. It will happen. It's there. When it filters down to us, what it will look like. I don't know. I'm not quite interested in it, but maybe I'm highly interested in it. I don't know.
In which part? In having your own
in
GPT?
Teaching it myself? Yeah, maybe I am. I think it'll be generalized past that. Is like it'll just like, okay, here's my. Have you ever read Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson? So no. Diamond Age was this book. So Neil Stephenson's one of my favorite authors.
Okay.
He's a science fiction author. Makes like big books with long middles. Right? I don't like endings. I like middles. I don't like the idea. Everything's in flow. Right? Endings are always fake. Right? Ending of any piece of art is just fake. Right? The ending of movies is so like, oh, let's wrap it all up. World doesn't work that way. It always annoys me. So I love Neil Stephenson. They're huge books, really, really long middles. I don't feel like we're trying to race to some kind of ending. We're just in this world. And Diamond Age is this pretty amazing book. Like there's a lot of nanotechnology in it. But the idea is there's this like, it's this book, which is a bit of nanotechnology. The whole idea is to be a young girl's primer. So the idea is it's this like AI that you give someone at a very young age and it grows with them. So so it's like a book, but really it's like, a computer that grows with them. So it teaches morality and helps build morality. It teaches but it's constantly growing with the person and learning them over their entire life, and kind of becomes an extension of the person. And that's what I think we'll get to. And maybe that will be as part of our artistic process, but I think, generalize is just like what we are, right? Like, well, it'll just be part of us. It'll be the appendage. This is this model that eventually gets inserted in your brain. So you're constantly dealing with it, right? But it'll be something that like knows you incredibly well, and has grown with you and has gained in complexity with you. So yeah, that's what I think will happen. And I think, extending your music, it'll just know your music and what your tastes are, and it'll help you extend that. And I think that's actually what, immortal life is going to be. Because I think if that thing can grow with you and know everything about you and work with you for its entire life, well, as you pass, it can just continue on as you. I mean, it's going to know everything, and it'll just be the thing that's your immortal self, right? If it knows and it adapts to everything you've done over your whole life, it'll extend on after, right? What's the difference between you and it at a certain point? And then, so it'll just take on my mortgage.
Mamma mia, ma che pasta. My mother makes pasta. Wow, that's something. Wow. Now, what inspired your Twitter post on AI?
Oh yeah, so maybe people don't know about this. So when there was first a lawsuit, right? So we had like the recording industry suing Suno and UDO, two competitive generative AI music companies. There was a lot of talk about copyright in AI, which is it's a really important discussion, right? And so I felt like I wanted to get my thoughts out. I don't do much on Twitter, but it's important to have like a stake, right? So I wanted to put out a stake about like what are my thoughts, and I was really hoping people would have good discussions and push back. It was like that Descartes thing. I'm just going to make a statement and then hope it's challenged and hope we can have a discussion so that I could grow with it and I could change. So my statement was a lot of what we've been talking about. I think the challenge becomes though the learning, the model of these things. I guess generally I think AI products are a tool, and that with regards to copyright, and this is also what James Cameron says, is nothing really much has to change with copyright. I don't think really anything does. We already have built into copyright. If humans feel this is too similar to a previously created song, you violated that copyright, right? If I make something that sounds very much like, uses the same melody and same instruments, etc., that sounds a lot like what you've already created, then I violated your copyright. Okay, I'm being judged on my output. I've created this thing. I'm being judged on that output. If that's too close to someone else's, I violated the copyright, which makes total sense. You have a monopoly over that intellectual property for a set amount of time. And that was put into place, that whole system of copyright was put into place to promote the adoption of productive arts and sciences, which makes total sense. People should be able to benefit from their creations. And we're judging the output, which I think is the right way to approach it, right? So if I create something and so if I use AI and it makes something that sounds way too much like Snoop Dogg, punish me for it. A real artist wouldn't want to put that thing out because it wouldn't be them. It would be someone else's, right? So that's how I feel about like the copyright. Judge the outputs. The training is tricky. The training is a tough thing, right? So to make these products, what Suno and UDO and others have made, and then ChatGPT and Claude, right? We had to input into it basically every bit of recorded audio that's ever been made. Fundamentally, that's what's happened, right? They just I imagine, I don't know the details, but went through everything on Spotify, plopped it into it, went through, trained it, tagged it, talked about, described the music in great detail so that the model could understand what was going on. Mm-hmm. My guess is they also put in I don't know what these companies did, but how else would it do it? Put in the chord charts, I'm sure they put in lyric sheets because you can communicate with it using the same diagrams that you use in lyric sheets. Like if you put parentheses around words in Suno lyrics, you'll get background vocals, just like happens in all lyric sheets, right? So my assumption is they just put all the lyric sheets and they tagged them with the music, and now the AI can associate those. So that is a challenge, right? They did use all this audio for there. I guess I would, and we have a situation where the people that are putting these lawsuits up are treating that training use, they're treating it the same as, say, sampling a piece of audio. And I would say those are very distinct things. It becomes hard to have this discussion if you don't understand the mathematics and the nature of AI. So I understand why people would object to it. I would liken training an AI with all this audio. I would liken that to me listening to the music I've listened to my entire life, right? Everything I've ever listened to, like this Count Basie song, I listen to that. That influences every single thing I make for the rest of my life. I might say I want it to sound like Count Basie, or I might say I don't want it to sound like Count Basie, right? But both of those influence the latest thing I'm doing. And so I trained on all that music. Now, that's how I would liken it to how this music gets used in a large language model or these more complex AI structures that they're using. And I guess I I want to find a balance. I think there's a balance in this, that is, artists should have these tools, right? So like one conclusion of this, we could shut down Suno and Udio and all other systems that are like that. They could just be shut down. Well, that's a severe punishment to all young artists. We would lose these amazing tools and this ability, right? I don't want to punish all artists. At the same time, we have on the other side these people that made these amazing songs and are expecting income from it, right? And maybe they feel like, and maybe rightfully so, they feel like their music is being used in a way they didn't appreciate and that they didn't agree to. And I see that side also. I get that, right? So what's the balance in all this? I guess what I would propose is another addition to copyright. So currently there's an absurdly long amount of time that copyright lasts for. And it's longer for corporations than humans, right? These are absurd statements, and I don't think they really contribute to their initial purpose of increasing arts and productive arts and sciences, which was the initial like goal of copyright. I think copyright law, when it was made, particularly and changed, tended to happen when the Mickey Mouse copyright was running out, because Disney would then lobby to have these laws changed drastically, and we didn't have artists part of the conversation. I personally am a little bit like, why should an artist? It doesn't matter. So I would kind of propose perhaps an addition to copyright where so copyright is fundamentally a monopoly, that like I'm the only one that can make money, that can profit off of my creation for a set amount of time. And I believe that time's too long, but it is okay. And that's what it is, right? That's how they function. And that could be lengthened in a variety of ways. I think a balance might be to make another category that says, hey, so if I make a song, I can profit. I have a monopoly over it for 100 years or whatever that is, 75 years, right? But there's another length of time, say 30 years, where I have a monopoly on using it to train an AI. So I could say, hey, for this, I make the thing, and for 30 years, I'm the only one that can use that piece of music to train an AI. Right? I could that can be used. I can license it to, say, Suno or to Udio, that they can then use that to train their models in. And after that 30 years, anyone can use it for training. And then after the 100 years, people could then start profit. It would be public domain or whatever that is. And I think my personal take is that would provide a balance, right? In that the models, I could contribute to a model, and I could make money from allowing that to be used for the training, and that means that the people that buy it from me would have the latest art in their model. So they do have an incentive to pay artists to help them train their model, because say I am a very popular artist. Well, different companies might want to train their model with my music and have that part of their training. And so for 30 years, I would have the ability to sell my work for this training purpose, right? And so I think that would set the incentives with entrepreneurship and with business. I think about incentives a lot, right? So I think that might strike a balance, and then then everyone would have access in the models that are available publicly, that aren't like built on the latest things. They would have still what we have now, which is really capable models that can create a wide variety of things. So I think that might be able to strike a balance. The other thing that I think could happen and should happen, which might be even more important, is heavy research into interpretability. So I think I'm using the right term there, but the idea with interpretability is, can we tell what's going on inside of a large language model? Right. And so this would be another really, really great thing that we could push these technology companies to create. And I really do think this will be the end result, and probably the positive end of this, which is, imagine a situation where I could create something with Suno, and then it would tell me, 10% of your concept came from Dream Theater. 2% of this, right? So it would list all of the influences. So if it could look in and see what all contributed to this result, it could list all that, and then it could pay the people in that proportion.
Interesting.
Right? And so it's a deep study of trying to understand what's going on inside of an LLM, right? But if we got there and if we legislated that that had to be the case, then there would be heavy incentives for artists to allow their music to be trained, because then they would profit from that. And they would profit in proportion to its use in the creation of music by others. And so this is the concept of interpretability. It is a big study within AI right now, and I think Anthropic has written quite a bit about it. I think it's very important for a lot of reasons, well beyond music, right? Like understanding you understand, you'll be able to figure out biases. You'll be able to. There's a lot you can understand, and we should be able to. So I think this is an important study in how these work. But that, I think, would be the correct result in the end if we can get a technological tool around it. Everything we create, it actually benefits the original creators based on the proportion that was used in the creation of this thing. That's fair, right? That's fairness. I contribute to the model, and then if someone else makes a piece of music that is influenced by what I put into it, I get paid in relation to that. I think that's fantastic. I think that would be the correct set of incentives, and I do think it's possible. I think it will get there. So that's the hope. Like, that's my dream of where it would go. That sets the incentive structures properly, and I think that could be applied in a variety of different contexts.
Now I was thinking, because what if then your input isn't text-based, but like what I described to you, audio-based, but your work is also directly influenced by other people's things. I mean, if you're writing a song, there's no like, oh, it's just an idea that nobody had done before. Like everybody, like originality is a question. Like I could ask them, what is originality? And I'll tell you, for a long time, I was like, no, I want to be original. I want to be original. But it's kind of hard to be original because you hear music so much and you're surrounded by all these different ideas that without knowing, you play lines. I mean, heck, I remember when I was at the rehearsal or the practice rooms at Berklee, everybody was playing those saxophone lines. And I'm like, where's originality in there? If you're playing the same line, how are you playing you when you're playing Stan Getz's lines?
Right.
So in a way, we are, and it's more of an analogy, we are an LLM.
Yep.
And we're sticking our fingers into these things. Okay, that's that's the lick. Okay, that's a freaking blues line.
Yep.
That's whatever. Like I can play a solo, and then I could see probably similar people playing similar lines.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, then if I record this, then do I have to say, oh, inspired by Delta Blues, or I don't know. I don't know where.
That's
I
a
was
good
going
point.
with
You
it,
know,
but
I guess my reflection on that would be that same consideration you just had is everything. That's architecture. That is protein folding, right? You know, just as always is the case, the things the artists confront, society will confront. And so if we can come up with a solution here, and we can be part of the conversation here, and we can come up with good solutions here, we can have a massive impact on society as a whole and a whole wide range of things. Because you're right, everything is variations on what's been done before, for sure.
So I've sold my guitar amp. I got this puppy. Have you seen this before?
Is that the Neural DSP? What's that one? Yeah.
It's the Quad Cortex, my friend.
Amazing.
That thing
sounds fantastic, right?
It's amazing.
I know, non-linear convolution. Talk about some crazy math, man.
Dude, I what is it called? Profiled my distortion, and I tell you, people could not hear the difference.
Yes, like you took one of your pedals and
it's mental.
Yeah.
But there are people who are like, oh, well, it's profiled. You're going to sound like the same people who profiled that and played the same thing. I'm like, what about my fingers? What about the things that make the guitar fundamentally play different because I am the one operating it.
Sure.
You know, I mean, that's what's interesting about music, art, and things like that. I mean, there are influences. You can't deny that there aren't influences, but you are the engine that interprets those influences and turns it into something what you like at that moment. I mean, improvisation is somewhat of a momentary songwriting, you know, and there are people who learned it by imitating a lot of people and playing licks or I don't know. There are a lot of structural things. I wonder what would have happened if instead of songs being shown to AI, it's more the theory, like you teach the theory or why something is good. What would it create?
I think that's been done.
Oh,
my guess. My guess is that is part of what's going on in these. Yeah,
I had a couple of thoughts.
It understands harmony.
So like
phenomenally,
splice is a big thing. So samples and a lot of people using samples or even outputs, like you press a button and it plays loops and things like that. And like let's say there are folks who like using just loops without any changes to creating a song. And there are a lot of people that could be using the same loops versus AI creating a song. And also now they do MIDI too, so you could just download it and change their stuff. So that then why, if you're really putting all that effort, then why shouldn't you feel like that song is yours?
Agreed.
You know,
yeah.
And
I think here would be my to artists. Develop your own personal ethic around it, right? Like, and this is a chance to do it, right? So and we had this was the big challenge around sampling, right? When sampling became the thing, a whole bunch of lawyers started deciding what was legal or not. That's not the same as what artists felt was right, like ethically. Right, the morality around it was different. There's an amazing book called Making Beats by I think Joseph Schloss, which it's not about actually like how to like put the kick on 1 and 3 and snare on 2 and 4. It's looking at sample-based hip hop and really exploring what was the ethic that was generated by the actual creators. Right, and what he found in his beautiful musicology and how he approached it by making this music with them was that they would say, well, that's whack. You can't just take like the lead from a popular song and just use it, right? All the other sample-based hip-hop artists would be like, well, that's a lame thing. That's whack. You're basically, you're not making good music, right? So it wasn't like sample-based music when it happened. It wasn't just a free-for-all and that they just felt comfortable doing everything. Artists will generate our own ethics regardless about what we feel is right and wrong. And as a community, we'll freaking agree on it, right? Like a value system formed within this group. So this is like not law, but the artists together, not on purpose. They never wrote it down until Joseph kind of explored it and tried to come up with like, what are the rules about this ethic, right? And what he kind of figured out was that, one of the beautiful things that sample-based hip-hop did is it wanted to, I mean, I say wanted is not like a decided thing, but what ended up happening is the makers of sample-based hip-hop would basically reward the other makers when they found that deep cut, when they found something no one else knew. When they used their skill and found like the B-side of an old jazz record and there's a crazy Bill Evans chord, and that's what they used, right? The thing that no one else would find. They ended up creating a value system on like what's right and wrong with sampling that wasn't related to law. And that was, so when I read his book, that hit me hard. It was like, wait a minute, artists, we will develop our own ethic. Regardless, and that's different than law, which is kind of that was a discovery for me. It's like, what do you mean different from law? Yeah, law is not like always based on what people feel is right. It's this thing, right? But we assume it is. And if I get a discussion about sampling, people always go, well, that's not legal. Like, I don't care. right? That's a separate discussion to what's like right artistically. You know, I'm totally fine with what the Beastie Boys did. They made amazing music that sampled thousands of things, right? Luckily, it was before the laws came in place. So they were able to make this thing that totally transformed the meaning and the purpose of these bits of audio in a really compelling musical way. They created something new that was not derivative of the previous thing. And so we have an opportunity to do that same thing here with AI. We can develop our own personal ethic. We can use it to the point where we feel, yes, this is an artistic use, and we are right because we're artists, right? And we have the opportunity, if we're strong, to actually help influence law. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can bring ourselves to the table and be part of this discussion. And I don't see that quite happening. I wish we could. I don't know, I don't know quite how to do that. I don't feel like the record labels are really, they're looking out for themselves. In a way, I feel like Suno and Udio are kind of on my side in that they are advocating for creating tools for the next generation of users. And maybe they also have their own reasons for doing this, and that doesn't perfectly align with with me and with artists, but we have an opportunity here to develop an ethic, and I would urge every artist to do that, right? So don't just accept, oh, this is a copyright law, who cares? It doesn't quite apply here. And a copyright law in general isn't a personal artistic ethic. It's just a law that exists, right? So use it and then say, yes, this feels right artistically. When you get to the point where you feel like I made this, you did. That's what it is as an artist, right? That's what it is to be an artist, and really push hard on that. Like, and start asking yourself, is this worth putting out? Am I right to say this is mine? And when you do, then you've developed that line for yourself of where that is. And I think every artist can have their own place of that. And I think that is really like when they're saying, we have a filter for AI. I would rather artists just put out a statement. This is how I use it. These are my limits. Do you agree with this or not? Is it going to change your appreciation of this music? Fine. No, this is what it is. This is what I'm comfortable with. And I tried to do a bit of that on Twitter. I tried to say like, well, let me ask some questions. If I just took some song and wrote a prompt and changed its style, I wouldn't feel that's mine. And I wouldn't feel comfortable with that, right? But if I, like you said earlier, if I make a piece of music and that is rough, that has my chord structure, my rhythm structure, maybe a lyric or two that I feel passionate about, and I put that up in the thing, and then it comes back, well, I feel somewhat okay. But then if I go back and forth a couple times and I start aiming it, there's a point in there where that feels like mine. And if I trust that an artist did that process and feels really comfortable about what they created and proud of what they created, I would trust that artist. And I would say, yeah, that is a personal ethic, and I hope every artist does that.
I agree. That's what, honestly, I was kind of afraid to post those kind of videos because I was afraid of the backlash that I could get, but I told myself, you know what, F it, I'm just going to do it and enjoy the thing and enjoy the process.
Yeah.
I did a whole 2.5 hour long video. I sent it to you on how I use Suno, and I showed the good, bad, and everything, my fuck ups, everything, and I just don't want to care. I want to enjoy it, and music should be enjoyed,
you're comfortable defending your choices.
Yeah.
Right? You're comfortable with it, right? Like you should be, if you put it out there and you can defend it, stake that claim. That's what we need. That's what's gonna move, and to this discussion, that's what'll move art forward. But it's also going to contribute to everything else.
Have you watched Stranger Things?
Not yet. The new latest season. Haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting. I'm so
excited. I didn't
excited.
Send you my video, right?
You sent me you have Vecna in there, or is like kind of.
Oh, okay, okay. I guess it's not really a spoiler, but I wanted to. So I wanted to do that because I try to do this thing called content validation, where you look at what can be well performing. So I'm like, okay, Stranger Things, sure. Let's find a hard way to play it. So I'm like, took a whole day to figure out how to tap all that stuff. If you've seen that video. And then I turned my room, my old setup, into like these vines and stuff.
Yeah.
And
then
I spent like half an hour creating like images of me doing stuff, and then I reverse engineer. So what I did is I find the original picture, I uploaded it into ChatGPT and say, give me a very descriptive, a very well described prompt so that I can recreate this image using a reference image of myself doing the same thing.
That's a smart approach.
And
Love that approach.
So I call this like reverse engineering. So like I start with what I want.
Yep.
Here's the image.
That's
and
a great
then
approach.
I used Nano Banana in Galaxy.ai. Galaxy.ai is kind of like this place that has like 5,000 plus AI tools. But what I don't like about it is they don't state the credits that it costs to use the models or the tools. And the video generative tools are very costly. It takes 1 million credits to create one. This is such a stupid thing.
Yeah.
There's a million credits. And after like a few generations, you're like gone with all your credits.
Yeah, that's no fun.
But what I do there is I use their Nano Banana editor. I upload my picture. I upload a reference picture or just my detailed description, and then go back and forth, and it created it. If you see the whole thing, like I turned myself into like this crazy
I saw it. It was great.
monster.
Yeah, I love it.
And so the reason why I'm saying it is there's an artist I work with here and there, and I pitched him like we could do some cool AI videos. He's like, nah, fam, I'm good. And I showed him the video, and he's like, dude, this is fire. Let's do some AI videos. I think sometimes people only hear the bad things and make a rash judgment of it and don't really see how it could be used to its fullest potential when you're pairing it with a vision first person, you know. And that video, Loudon, took me a good 4 hours to do. It's not like a one press button. And
no,
it's 1
no,
minute.
It never is.
And it was 1 minute, and I enjoyed the whole thing, and I was proud of it. I'm like, this thing is cool. I don't need no like freaking high expensive virtual effects stuff. I just have to have a good workflow that I can repeatedly do and learn from.
Yeah, that's I love that workflow. Well done, man.
Thank you.
That's a good challenge. Yeah. The problem is that workflow will be different next week, right? It's like you can't use it again because they'll just, I mean, you could, but there'll also be just an easier way. You know, that was one of Perplexity, listening to the head of Perplexity talk. He's like, with all this prompt engineering stuff, he's like, well, that's stupid because my job is to build the AI that just understands you and knows what you want. Like you should, if there is prompt engineering, that means the creators of these tools are failing, right? Everything that you're telling it to engineer, we should be just building in that it assumes that's how you want to do. And that's what's happening, right? It's like, as we use this more and more, it's figuring out better ways to understand us and our natural language, which is fantastic.
Can you see this?
Yeah, let me just zoom in my screen. I got it very small.
So I did this AI music video. That's, like, look at this. This is terrible.
So is that from a photo? These are all from photos and became video?
Yes.
Amazing.
And then a lot of
but did he take the photos in Nepal and then the whole...
No, not all of it. So this was, I used like 3 or 4 different places. So I used VO, I used Higgsfield and OpenArt. And this was a preset where I put a picture on him and it zooms in his eye and it comes out. It's a reversing. It's a lot of match cuts. So I had a lot of ideas in my head of how I want this. And he wanted, so this was a picture that I turned into a video. And then this was not a picture, but we just wanted him to be in water.
Yeah, sure. That's amazing.
And then, like, this one looks completely realistic.
I mean, it feels, there is a like, oh, they just got like a big old stock footage library, trained it on it. Everything has that beautiful stock footage feel to it, you know?
This is the one I got to talk to you about. Check out this shot. You're going to be like, what? So this image also happens at the very end. Check this out, and I'm going to tell you about it. This is an FPV drone in Chattanooga, and I upload it onto what is it called, Runway ML, and they can change everything. And I told it to change the drone shot to make it look like it's in Nepal.
That's great.
It's my footage.
So you flew through his legs with your drone,
yes.
and then, but in a totally different place, and then it was able to just use the same motion, the same silhouette, but make it look like it's in Nepal.
Which is
Love
crazy.
It. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Some of them are not my favorite, but it is what it is. Most of it I'm very happy with. Like, look at these close-up shots. Some of these are like, holy cow.
Yeah.
One of my favorite was like these.
They look great. Yeah. I think people will start to, it's like if we don't have two people interacting in a scene, we're going to start being suspicious of everything or not appreciating it. I feel that's like where there's maybe I'm wrong. You know more than me, but I feel like there is a limit with the AI tools, and like, it's like one person without them interacting, right? Like we don't have like good, like two people fighting. You know what I mean? Like that is where there's this like limit right now. Like I look at that whole thing and I do think, oh, it's one person. There's one single subject, right? That's like just like that first, like everything with Midjourney was always like character creation, right? They did the thing that was really easy first, which is the single person by themselves, single subject. If you put prompts in of like a person doing something to another person, right? That's where it kind of starts breaking down. So that's where the edge of it is right now. And eventually that'll start changing, right? Where it becomes more and more two people interacting, fighting, hitting each other, the physics of that and the mechanics of that. And then it's going to start moving into groups of people, right? But now I'm suspicious when I see like one person. I don't, I think that what you made is beautiful, but I also don't trust like a reel that I see if it's one person by themselves. I'm like, I don't know. Is that a person?
I see what you mean, but the whole idea here was him traveling.
Oh, it fits the video perfect.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned that,
artistic thing,
I'm actually
that's a frontier.
One of the next things I'm gonna be doing in the next week or so, week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm working on 20-second shorts, and they are for the guy I'm doing this course for his other course, film scoring. So he wants to use that for scoring. But idea is to actually, one of the stuff was that I want to do a fight scene with AI, and I want to see how I can push it. So
yeah,
but the way I have to think of it is different, because I've tried it with just prompts. And I have an A/B, so like this is what you get when it's prompting, and this is what you get when you have a shot reference for every single cut. So like close up of hands, close up of foot, of 35 millimeter looking. Everything needs to have a reference, and how it moves from one shot to another. It's so much. You almost have to. What's the word? Design it as if you're shooting
like an animatic, like scene by scene or shot by shot.
Exactly. Yeah. So
or it's like mocap, right? So I mean that's the way to kind of do it, is you have to have motion capture, and then it all can work, right?
Oh, dude. Oh, you gotta try Luma AI. DreamWorks, I think. It's crazy. I can literally like record myself do stuff. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've done it. I mean, I've used those, and that's where you can get like fights and stuff working. Like it needs the reference, and that also is like more work, more exciting artistically. I love you just make like a white room and you just have two people do something, and then it can be anything, right? Or you think, okay, I'm going to do this action, and then there's cars whizzing by, and I'm on a motorcycle. But if you have that reference, so much better what you can get. And so that's what I'd be excited about.
I'm super excited. Honestly, I've never being as excited as now. I mean, that's not true, but I'm excited about all these because, again, you don't need to go and to Nepal and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you do have to have
You have
workflows,
a vision, a workflow.
ideas of how to do it,
Yep.
aware and learning, because it's not without learning.
Huge amount of
It's
learning. You have to be willing to put that
like,
time in. That's what being a musician gets you, is the ability to do things and fail a lot, until you get there. Like, that's a skill. Like playing guitar, man, you gotta fail for many years before you achieve this thing. So once you have that experience, you can apply that to other things and you do a good job at it.
okay, Loudon, I'd love you to challenge the listeners with something, with some form of a creation or something. Do you have an idea how we can challenge the listener to try something that will change the way they think about AI or workflows or something creatively? Let me hand that kind of thought to you. With the stuff that we talked about, yeah.
I would challenge the audience to write a short story. Write a short story, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to make a challenge that costs a lot, or requires a lot of failure. But just write a short story and use these tools to help you complete it. I think, how many short stories have people write? Probably not many. And a lot of people don't write until later. They don't do a lot outside of maybe one writing class they had as a child, perhaps. So I would encourage people to write a short story and write it along with ChatGPT or Claude as their partner in this, right? How can we write this together about a topic or about a part of their own life? So what's an experience that you had in your life that was impactful? Maybe a story that you do tell people, right? And work with ChatGPT to tell that story in a really, really compelling way, so that you would feel comfortable like sharing that with your family members and sharing it with your children, that they know you went through this amazing thing. And see if you can, along with this tool, represent this amazing moment in your life, and maybe even like stretch it a little bit, like we all do with stories. But see how it can really help you tell that story and create an artifact of your life that you would feel proud sharing with your loved ones, that you felt like accurately represents that moment, that excitement of your life, that the thing you went through. And create something that has value, right? Telling our stories and giving it on to the other people in our life is hugely, hugely valuable thing. So work with it to create that, right? That's a valuable thing. Telling your story and telling an important thing that happened in your life is incredibly valuable. The people in your life will be delighted to have it. And maybe that will give you a different perspective on how useful this tool could be. And then if you want to take that exercise further, turn it into a song, turn it into a video, right? Expand on this artifact that you can give to your loved ones that represents their life. And then if you want to extend that a little bit, I would have you talk to one of the elders in your life and then do the same kind of activity with them. Sit down with someone that you love that has more experience than you and talk through with them a really, really impactful moment in their life, one of the stories that they tell, and then see if you can work with these tools to really flesh it out and create this artifact that extends the humanity of your family.
I love it. One of the jobs that my wife did was actually oral history recording. So she recorded tons of elderly stories. There was a big fire in Gatlinburg, and she got a grant to actually record the stories of people who lived there.
Amazing.
And she got a big grant for interviewing late diagnosed folks on the spectrum and get that into Library of Congress. So she's awesome at that. And I was talking to my dad because he's got a really interesting story of how he got to the States. And I said, I gotta teach you how to record your stories into Chat GPT, and then we can literally turn certain segments into like mini stories and use AI to put you in like a younger version of you and create like a little, like turn it into a movie or something.
Yeah, I love
That'd be so fun. I'm super excited about all of these things, and that's what I love about creative entrepreneurship. You can't really. You have to continuously learn. There's no such a thing as, oh, I'm a guitarist. You are a creative. I think we meant to do more than just one instrument, to be our translator of inner self or inner art, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
I mean, I was gonna ask, like, how do you balance like all this artistic stuff that you do?
How do I balance it?
Yeah, but like, how do you?
I balance it in for me, I think we're similar. I'm more of the compulsive type of creator, instead of the like ADHD type of creator. Some creators need a lot of things going on at once, and that's their life. I'm much better having like a singular focus for a chunk of time. So I think in my best life, and this is kind of how I've organized my life now, it's like a couple months at a time with a different focus. So like I'm, for the last 4 years, I've driven across the country with my family, in a tiny teardrop trailer, and just like lived in state parks, and then spent 4 months in Montana, building a small house there. And like, so I can have that chunk of time that's like not much interaction with a lot of people. That allows me to have time just sitting outside looking at the same mountain every day and seeing how the sun rises at a different location every day. Like I can get like connection with the planet and that time pace, and I can engage in that, and I can let that be my whole existence. Is this the stars look amazing today, like that's valid. I can be with my family during that time. And then another chunk of time that's like back at my computer. Okay, now 4 months, let's just do this thing, right? And I'll like work on AI tools. And I haven't touched the computer hardly during that whole time. But now it's like, okay, bam, I'm in this, I'm learning these tools, I'm activating that part of my body, and I can kind of get obsessive about that for a while. So that's me, and that's how I organize it, and that's how I balance it. It's chunks. It's this focus for a while, then this focus for a next while, this focus for a next while. I think that's a challenge of AI, is that you have to wait so often. I hate the waiting. Oh my God, the waiting's the worst. I type something and I freaking wait. And I'm not I don't have the ability to like go to this other thing, because I'm like, no, I want to see what it outputs.
Oh, man.
And I just wait for the freaking thing, And so I need to figure out like how I can balance that. That's the hard, the frustration and that waiting. So I'm trying to build up the skills to like have two things going at once. So I'm like, that's rendering and I'm doing this, and then this is rendering, I'm doing that, and I'm bouncing between two tools, But that's my struggle with AI, which is like a very tiny struggle. But that's that's how I balance. That's how I balance my time, and then chunks of my life. I'm maybe too overly good at just leaving things behind, and so I finish something, and that's instantly in my past, and I'm okay with that. And probably leads to me not finishing things. To like maybe finishing or like taking full advantage, like doing all the marketing after and really making like, I'm amazed. I look at artists that are like 6 months later still pushing the song they made six months ago, and their Spotify listens are going up like crazy because they keep on putting a piece of like Instagram content about the song they made so long. I'm like, can you just make something new? But that's them, and I'm impressed that they can do it, but I can't. I make something and I'm immediately just invested in the next thing. And I don't know if that's healthy, but that's how I
feel it. You. I have multiple channels. I have my wedding YouTube channel, and I was going through my analytics, and one of my videos got nearly 1 million impressions, which is phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, then I didn't know much about the click-through rate and all these things that you got to
They'll find a way to depress you.
But that's where I learned that the more niched you have, the more you focused with what that one channel is, the better your success can be. Because I treated my original YouTube channel as like, oh, I've got a bunch of different stuff visually. Let's put it there to show people. Sure. But YouTube is not a portfolio. It's a channel. So it learns what you do and it tries to find people for that channel. And
right.
And that's it in short, basically. So I'm trying to have strategies. And with the podcast that we're talking on, like I have deliberately shoot for like months, and then I schedule out everything for months so that while that is working for me, I can do other things. And then I can plan to do like dovetailing. Okay, I've got like 6 weeks until I run out of content.
Yeah.
Or what I'm going to do with this. So I first started just making it easy. But then I started like, okay, let's improve every single episode one way or another. And then a year later, now I'm going to do episodes like this online, in-person episodes. And I'm going to have a talking head type of thing in between. So like chat with Loudon. And next week I'll talk about, so this is how I use this. And then week 2, chat with somebody else. And I'm like we talked before, like idea first. I try to think of what somebody's going to, what are they going to get from this episode? What can I teach them, show them from this episode?
Sure.
There's a lot of strategizing, and sometimes I'm like you, like 4 months I'm only doing wedding content. So what sort of ending notes would you have for the listeners? Is there anything you want to plug, what you want to make people aware of, what you're doing?
Yeah, so if I am available to kind of me, my vibe now, right? And I'm basically available to support artists in their journeys. I think I'm also available to make cool artistic things with computer programming. So if there is something in that realm and you're interested to work with me, I'm available for it. But
where can people find you?
They can. They just email me loudon@gmail.com.
Easiest email address in the history of Gmail addresses.
That's it. If you understand, I'm a person that has this like collection of skills, and I'm looking for people to work with. So if that makes sense, if this interaction seemed like we would connect artistically, and you have a project that you want to collaborate on, give me an email. I'm there for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Loudon, for coming onto the podcast. And for listeners, smash that like button.
Oh, no, don't do it.
I was joking. I usually shoot different things and I put it in there. But I got to think about...
sound effect. You need something.
I got to think about lead magnets, too. Like, don't forget to download that list of 5 things.
Oh.
Are you cringing?
Yeah, that's cringy, man. I can't handle it. I can't do it.
I never said smash that like button until I had a saxophone player engineer come on the show and he said smash that like.
Oh man, that's funny. That was good.
I'm gonna stop the recording, but not the video.
Okay.